seventh graders, this is the second video in our unit, and it is on assessment and feedback in individuals and societies and what that means. So like always in your notes, if you look at the very top, there's an I can statement. And so you just need to fill in the I can statement. And it's right here in the front. I can explain how assessment and feedback works in individuals and societies. And if you need to pause the video to do that, that's just fine. So what is feedback? Well, feedback just means information that tells you how well you did on an assignment. So whatever the criteria was, did you meet it? Didn't you meet it? What could you do better? And it really allows for growth. It does let you get better. So let's just take a look right now at our evidence of learning chart. This is up in the classroom as well, but this is basically what your feedback is going to be based on. So you'll be getting a number, a level, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, and that corresponds to our IB levels. So let's just start at a 3, 4. So a 3, 4 is where we kind of expect you to be. So right in this 3, 4 idea, or at least that's the least that we want you to get. And that means that you've got some basic understanding, okay? There might be a little bit of gap. So maybe you're missing something. You don't have as much detail. Maybe you don't have evidence. So we're going to be working a lot on evidence this year. And where did you find that information? Or maybe you didn't fully meet the expectation of the assignment. So any of those three things would be a 3, 4. Now, a 1, 2 is really needing improvement. And so you really, if you got a 1, 2, it would mean you really were struggling with your understanding. Or you didn't meet the expectation at all. So if there were some task directions given and you didn't do those at all, for example, let's say I said write a short paragraph and you give me one sentence. Well, that's not a short paragraph, that's one sentence. So that would be a level 1, 2. And it just means you need to improve. Maybe you need some extra help in order to progress to that 3, 4 level. Now, to get a 5, 6, that means you've got a detailed understanding. So note the word here, detailed. Okay, you support that detail with evidence and you meet the expectation of the assignment. So again, if I said write a short paragraph, we've talked about that means about 5, 6 sentences with some detail. That's what a 5, 6 is. Now, a 7, 8. That is this superior understanding, okay? So that word superior is important. Again, supported by evidence. So you're using maybe text evidence, you're using something that you did in a conversation, you're referring to it, and you're connecting across topics. So maybe you look at a lesson that you've done before. You use extended thinking, you use deeper thinking. So a 7, 8 is really superior. Okay, so that's what the feedback sort of looks like. There are 2 types of assignments that you might get feedback on. The first is formative, which is practice. And, a lot of teachers say, well, practice doesn't count. Well, it does count. It's not average in your grade, so the numbers don't go in the grade book and come up with a grade, but it definitely counts. So why should you practice? Well, if you think about it, you're practicing the work that you do before your assessment, and the feedback that you get on that is going to help you do your best and show your best on that assessment. So I kind of compare it to sports. If you play a sport, then you have to go to practice. Why do you practice? So you can do well in the big game. And that's why we do the practice here. So you can learn the material so that when it comes to an assignment, you've got the tools and the information you need to be able to do it. Now, our second kind of feedback is assessment, or assessment is a summative assessment. And that's where the numbers count. So if you think of the word sum in math, it means add. It's included in that grade average. So things like mastery checks, or maybe there's going to be a mini project, or big summative projects, which are always IB criterion. Those are all summative. And those usually come either at the end of a lesson or the end of a unit. The summative assessments for our units are all IB. And so you should be familiar a little bit from last year, but in our individuals and societies class, we've got knowing and understanding, investigating, communicating, and thinking critically. And we build on this throughout the whole unit. So by the time you get to the assessment, you'll have enough feedback so that you can do as well as you want to on that assessment. And that's about it for feedback and assessment. Hope that you understand the expectations.